So, how does secularism encroach upon the culture? There are various ways. Think about media, for instance. And we're talking books, magazines, movies, even the news. So think about going to a music store, right? All the music is categorized by genre, right? Jazz, rock, hip-hop, country, and then Christian. But I mean, Christian music is categorized by lyrical content. In Christian music, you have all kinds of genres. Isn't that strange? I mean, why don't you have all the music categorized by lyrical content? Songs about getting drunk, songs about violence, songs about puppy love, you know. So, you want to think about these things. Why are these things out there? Why are they put forth in that way? Because there's a worldview behind it. There's a worldview behind how the music is displayed, even. Let's think about the news. For instance, you may recall Anders Vervik. He carried out the bombing and shooting rampage, left 92 people dead in Norway's capital in a nearby island. And the news media had a field day. They were so thrilled that they could say, look, a Christian terrorist. And it was all over the news, and along with it came reminders of Timothy McVeigh. Oh, he was a Christian terrorist too. I mean, the media was thrilled to be able to point to them and refer to them as Christian terrorists. And in fact, Dan Barker, who is the co-founder of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which, by the way, is an organization established in the USA, which is a country premised upon the concept of freedom of religious expression. So go figure. He stated, why is no one calling the Oklahoma City bombing suspects, quote-unquote, Christian terrorists? And he said, Timothy McVeigh, a God-believing Catholic, blew up the federal building. Well, wasn't the media referring to him as a Christian terrorist? Well, CNN reports McVeigh's an agnostic. He doesn't believe in God. And the UK Guardian, McVeigh said he was an agnostic, but that he would improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's why when he requested last rites before his execution, those people who knew him were shocked. I mean, because he did not believe in God, but he apparently adapted. Well, what about Anders Vervik? He's a Christian in precisely the same way that Richard Dawkins is a Christian, because they both just so happen to use the term cultural Christian. It means they're not in the least bit Christians. They don't believe in God, but they both see that Christianity plays a beneficial role in society. And so that's why they refer to him as a Christian terrorist. But he is not a Christian. He just called himself a cultural Christian, meaning he saw those benefits in society. Now, recently, a pastor introducing Rick Perry made reference to Mormonism as a cult. And the media was all over all the presidential candidates. Do you think they're a cult? Do you think Mormonism's a cult? Do you think it's a cult? And I was thinking, well, why aren't they asking Mitt Romney or Mormon leaders, pray tell, what is the very purpose of your religion? I mean, how did it start? What is the very premise upon which your religion is based? And in Joseph Smith's first vision, the very first revelation he received from God, at least in one of the 10 versions, he had prayed to God to ask which Christian denomination to join, and he says, I was answered that I must not join any of them, or join none of them, for they were all wrong, and the personage who addressed me said that all their creeds were an abomination in his sight, and those professors were all corrupt, that they draw near to me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They teach the doctrines and commandments of men, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, and he forbade me joining any of them. So according to Mormonism, Christianity is a cult. I mean, Christians have considered Mormonism a cult for over a century, you know. Shh, don't tell anyone. But why weren't they asked, well, what's your view of Christianity? The very reason your religion exists is because one of the Mormon gods told Joseph Smith that Christianity is a cult and he needs to start the restoration. Now, what about Philip Pullman, whose books were turned into the movie The Golden Compass? Well, he writes fun little stories for kids. You know, that's what it is. He says, I was telling a story which would serve as a vehicle for exploring things which I had been thinking about over the years. Despite the armored bears and angels, I don't think I'm writing fantasy. I'm writing realism. My books are psychologically real. And so you see how the worldview is driving, even when he's writing fiction. It's his worldview driving what he's writing. And so he says, my books are about killing God. And he also stated, I'm trying to undermine the bases for Christian belief. Okay, so, we see all these fun little books and movies for kids with armored bears and fun little stories, but what's behind it? What's the message behind the message? Worldviews, again. The worldview is driving what he's writing there. How about Dan Brown of Da Vinci Code fame or infamy? He says, how historically accurate is history itself? Okay, but he started his book Da Vinci Code with the word fact. And he claims that even though he's writing a fictional story, it's based upon historical facts. But then when he's challenged on those, well, how historically accurate is history anyway? Also, when you want to make a point against Christianity, the history is objective and accurate. But when we want to respond, then, who knows what really happened anyway? Interesting. Think about the show The Office, okay? One of the characters on that show is outspoken Christian, and outspoken in a bad way, by the way, just condemning absolutely everybody and everything. And she was engaged to a man, and she was having unmarried sex with him, and also cheating on him by having unmarried sex with somebody else. Behavior so repulsive that even the other members of the other employees in the office were just shocked by her behavior. Well, it just so happens that one of the co-producers of the show is Ricky Gervais, who's an atheist. Okay, now, I really hate to think in sort of conspiratorial terms. Oh, just because he's an atheist doesn't mean that they wrote that into the show on purpose. Well, maybe not. But listen to what Sam Harris has to say as he looks forward to a time when, quote, making religious certitude look stupid will be exploited, and we'll start laughing at people who believe. We'll laugh at them in a way that will be synonymous with excluding them from the halls of power. I guess you got to have goals. So he states, I think the criticism of irrationality just has to come from 100 sides at once. In the entertainment community, maybe you'll just have people making jokes that are funny enough and true enough so as to put religious certainty in a bad light. I'm hopeful that journalists and people in the entertainment industry are waiting for the permission to express their doubts, and I think that permission is coming. I'm trying to do what I can to engineer it in my hard-handed and boorish way, and I feel, just from the contacts I have in both industries, that there's a profound sense of relief that comes with hearing somebody call a spade a spade. Okay, so this is activism within entertainment and even the news media to put forth certain secularist atheist messages out there, anti-religion, anti-Christian messages. Or think about Ricky Gervais, his movie, The Invention of Lying. You watch the trailer for the movie and it was a romantic comedy. Well, he says, I think the reason why critics didn't like it was obviously that the religious elements. I think some people felt cheated when they weren't warned. But I don't know what to do with that. Whether I should put a warning, contains atheist material, I don't know. Strange, really. This is one film that dares to presume a lack of God. I don't think it's atheist propaganda. As an atheist to suggest I believe that religion was started by man. I put that in a film. I'd be a hypocrite to say anything else. I make this for me and like-minded people. Okay, so that's another point is the movie trailer was made to portray the movie as being a romantic comedy, but it really, underlying it, was an atheist message against God's existence. And Ricky Gervais wrote a children's book called Flanimals. And I took my kids to the bookstore one day, and I look over and I go, Ricky Gervais, wow, a children's book? And I go, no, come on, no, come on. Sure enough, I'm leafing through it, and there it was. There's a mockery of Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam, along with a text that sung the praises of mutation-based evolution and besmirched as mental, exclamation point, the view that all the flanimals were created by a sky being known as Grab. So there it is, anti-creationist, atheist propaganda right in a children's book. So, I mean, obviously, think about it. If you were going to write a movie script or a song or a book, wouldn't you want to put some of your worldview into it to make put a message across? Of course you would. And if you say, no, I wouldn't, well then that's the message you're putting into it, that you're not going to put anything forth. For example, think about the show Seinfeld, which was said to be a show about nothing. And I really never saw how it was any more or less about nothing than most shows, especially comedies, honestly. But the point was, the show's characters were nihilists. I mean, they didn't believe in anything, really. The way they put it within the show is a barren, sterile existence that ends when you die. And that's why, as the Elaine character put it on the show, she was frustrated to pore over the excruciating minutiae of every single daily event. But that's what the show was about, was just they were wrapped up in every single little thing that happened every single day, because for them, that's all that exists. That's all there is. It's just your daily life, and then that's it. And so that message was in that show. You see that?